Headlines for Napoleonic Quarterly 1801. The first months of 1801 are set to be tumultuous ones for British politics. Early in the year, the Act of Union comes into force, annexing Ireland to Britain, but the issue of Catholic emancipation, which is tied to the Act, will make it increasingly difficult for Prime Minister William Pitt to keep the confidence of the King. Pitt resigned on 16 February, handing power over to Henry Addington, but the new administration could not be formed due to the King's relapse into mental illness, which lasted until 14 March. During that time, Pitt remains in government. Through the same period, the election of the new president in the United States sees the House of Representatives break the deadlock between Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. They elect Jefferson as the new head of the executive branch. In international and military affairs, relations between Britain and the Baltic states worsen, with an embargo placed on all Danish, Swedish, and Russian shipping in January. Before the end of the first quarter, Denmark will respond in kind. Keeping to the maritime theme for a moment, Contre-Amiral Honoré Ganteaume puts to sea in hopes of rescuing the French Armée d'Orient. His successful evasion of the Brest blockade raises hopes that all is not lost for the isolated French forces in Egypt. However, time is running out, as on 8 March, the first troops from the British Expeditionary Force lands at Aboukir and establish a beachhead after heavy fighting. Between the 20th and the 21st, the army under General Abercrombie successfully defeats the French at Alexandria. Across the sea, the revolution in Haiti shows no sign of waning. Its charismatic leader, Toussaint Louverture, invaded Santo Domingo. After expelling the Spanish authorities, he abolished slavery in the name of the French Republic and, as of February, presided over a suddenly united island of Hispaniola. With his newfound power, Toussaint creates a central assembly to draft a new constitution, which is appointed and deliberating by March. From the British perspective, despite positive news from the East, the coalition is continuing to crumble across Europe. The biggest blow will come when Austria agrees to confirm the Treaty of Campo Formio with the Peace of Lunéville, which effectively ends the Second Coalition. New treaties also blossom in the south, as Spain and Naples enter into accords with the French, putting pressure on Portugal and closing important ports in Sicily and southern Italy to British ships. Another worrying development at the end of the first quarter is the Indieski Pochod Pavla, or the Indian March of Paul, which was either a stroke of genius or a piece of utter insanity, to march a Russian army to India across the Ottoman, Persian, and Afghan empires. The brainchild of Tsar Paul, it was intended to be a Russo-French venture, which Napoleon entertained in strict secrecy, insofar as suggesting Marshal Massena command the French corps. Paul went so far as to move up to 20,000 or more Cossacks to the Aral Sea as an advance guard. However, when the Cossacks under Orlov and another distinguished officer named Platov reached the sea, they heard word that the Tsar was dead. On 23 March, Paul was cornered by a group of officials and officers in his palace who demanded his abdication, the result of which was the murder of the Tsar. The question of whether the object of the coup was to kill Paul from the outset will haunt the reign of his successor, Alexander I. That's all we have time for with the headlines for the first quarter of the Napoleonic Quarterly 1801. Back to you, Alex.